On today's episode of Tough Garage, guys, we're doing some bodywork on the XY guards. Guys, what I'm going to be doing today, I'm just going to do a small roughing. So just skimming some areas that I've repaired. So where I've done the rust repair there, where I've deleted the badge holes, deleted the molding studs and holes and stuff like that. Where I've done a few shrinks here. The top of the guard here where they had a little dent. I'm just going to be doing some body work on them, so just putting a little bit of body filler, just a skim, just to get these roughed in as if, how can I explain this, as if they weren't there. So as if this guard was so good that it didn't need any of that work. So give them a skim, send it all back, and as if that new slate will be our starting point, you know. So imagining all this has all been repaired already. And straight away I've found a discrepancy in the way this thing is shaped that I don't like. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can see this body line just continues nice and straight. When it gets to the end, it kicks off to the left. I'll just show you the rule of the actual difference. Can you see it now? See how it kicks off towards the left or upwards? I can't live with it. This is the end result. So I'm very happy because these little areas where I welded and grinded, they hardly took any sort of filler to fill in. I mean, have a look at that. Unreal. That one needs a little bit more. Look at that one. It's almost disappeared. So really happy. That's just like I said, it's just a rough end. This one needs a little bit more, as you can see. So yeah, this one obviously took a little bit more heat, so it's spread a little bit, you know. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the shapes of sanding blocks that I've used in this area. So this is the area that I've skimmed. I've sanded it now, and I just used this flat short block because we've got a slight curve, so that gets us that sort of shape, that area there. And as I was sanding, I'd stop around about there, you know. So as this curve starts coming up, I used a little round one and just sand like that. And then when I got to this curve here, same thing, and just slowly work my way down. Then the long thin one, this one here, I used at the very bottom. So just going like that here to try and capture this span here, which hasn't got a curve in it. Very slight one if it does. So you might as well use this one. And because it's thin, it just bends a little bit, so it hugs that shape. And that just gets me the exact shape that I'm after. I'm going to have to give it just this one skim, and then maybe do another skim once it's bolted onto the car. So this will be a shaping skim, I guess, but the final shape will have to be done once it's bolted onto the car, because it's a little bit flippy floppy. When you move the panel like that or like that, it gives a different curve here. So that'll either curve that way, or whatever, you know. So the final shaping of this will have to be done once it's on the car and bolted into its actual location. So as you can see, I'm skimming it end to end. You know, it looks like plenty of bog, but it's not. I told Shad that I was going to body file it and get it down to a file finish, no bog at all. But he doesn't watch the show anyway.
He does watch the show.
What?
He does watch the show.
He watches the show. Are you sure?
Yes.
So after giving it a skim and sanding everything as far as possible, mainly in areas where, you know, I've done a bit of work, I've done a bit of welding, you know, a bit of rust repair and stuff like that. There was areas like this where, and then a little bit of panel beating with the Easy Beat. That's basically as best I'm going to get it for now, being on these stands. They're very flippy floppy and loose, you can see that. I mean, so when you're trying to sand and create, you know, a certain shape, you can't, because this sort of bends like that and starts creating arcs this way and that way, and it's impossible to do. So they have to be done while they're mounted on the car, which I'll do once they're back at Shad's house. For now, what I've done, they're all sanded in 80 grit to try and get, like I said, a basic shape. And now I've gone to 180 make them a little bit smoother. I'm going to go to 240 now with the whizzer, and then once they're done in 240, that's it. And I'll epoxy them again just to seal them all up, because I don't know when I'll get a chance to touch these again, because I'll be working on other parts of the car, and they can be sealed and protected and stay that way. Guys, I thought I'd show you my little setup. This is a little air sander, 6-inch, oscillating. So air powered from the compressor, as you can see. And then little Ryobi wet and dry vac. This little attachment here with the hose goes all the way to the sander. It's made for these. So these sanders that are got the little holes in them, and you can buy the sandpaper with the holes in it as well. Attach the hose to the end, turn on the vacuum, and off you go. You've got dustless sanding. It actually works for these sanders as well. So this is the my work sander that I've basically got, and it works in fitting in there. You just got to. It doesn't actually fit in tight, so just a little bit of tape around the outside of it there just to hold it in place. But the actual attachment, which is really clever, it's made to go into pretty much any vacuum. So you have with the cone sort of a press fit, but this one fits into it absolutely perfectly. Well, I can't do it now with one hand, but fits absolutely snug as. Turn on the vacuum, press the trigger, off you go, dustless sanding. And just like that, with the power of video editing, the guards are back into epoxy. So we're just going to leave them like this for now, take them back to shads, mount them on the car, and do the rest of the sanding and body filling work once they're mounted. They move around too much, you can't do much with them. Mainly, all I did that ended up half decent, because they're nowhere near perfect anyway, is the areas where I deleted the badge holes and welded up the moulding holes that go along the side here. They all turned out pretty good. There's still areas I can tell straight away where it needs more work, but it is what it is. I got to the stage where, when I knew I wasn't going to be able to get them perfect, because I couldn't mount them solidly anywhere, I sort of just half gave up, and I just sort of sanded everything. Got dents out that were obvious, things like that, but I didn't sit there and try and really get absolute perfect shapes, because there's no use doing it at this stage, because it just keeps changing. You fold the guard a little bit in that way, and the arcs start to change, and not so much change, but they go into different positions. So you could get an arc along here, and then you change its position a little bit, it disappears and it goes somewhere else. So there's no use doing them on these stands. It's absolutely useless. They'll go back on the car, mount them back up, line them all up perfectly the way they should be, and then we'll finish up all the bodywork. Plus, they'll be, up against another door and stuff like that. So gaps will be done perfectly as best I can get them without doing actual gaps. But what I mean is alignment of gaps and stuff like that. But where they had dents, they all come up good. There was a dent here, there was a dent along the top over there. That's all come up, pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Guys, if you're enjoying the episodes, please subscribe. It's critical to helping out with the channel and making the channel grow. So if you're liking what you see, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a comment. What colour would you like to see painted on this XY? We already know what colour we're going to paint the car, but if it was your car, what colour would you paint it? Alright, thanks for that, guys. Catch up.